Hello everyone, welcome to Sex and the Diversity, which is an all-inclusive and unfiltered space to talk about sex, love, and dating debauchery. It is your girl Divya here. Right now it is 10:45 on a Friday night. I drank maybe a quarter bottle of wine and I am sitting in my bed. I have my microphone nestled up next to me, so again, you can think that life's going pretty well. And I wanted to kick off this podcast with, first I wanted to talk about something that I was just talking about with one of my friends. And we were having a conversation about office hookups. I feel like that is the sexiest fantasy, the sexiest role play that people think about. When you ask somebody, like, what's something that you've always wanted to do? I think in the top 5, it's gonna be probably fucking somebody in your office or having sex in the office. So, and I've heard this from a lot of people, and I think, when you're imagining it in a very sexy situation. You're either there's a handsome, well-dressed person that you're working on a lot of late night projects with, the sexual tension just builds, and then one day you're just so frustrated with whatever client you're working on, then you go and you rip off each other's clothes and you have mad passionate sex in the boardroom. And if you were the woman, he pins you to the table and he holds you down with his hand against your throat, and he's just having his way with you, maybe ripping off your clothes, and then you go home and you just never speak about it again. Or maybe you are the guy and then there's this really sexy woman, sitting across the table from you or sits in an office next to you, and she's always wearing these really hot, kind of slutty tops, but for some reason acceptable. I mean, nobody's talked to her about it, but everyone kind of notices it when her nipples are hard, but it's okay. Nobody says anything. And she just bends over and you see a bit of her cleavage, and it's just like these juicy big breasts, and you're just thinking about putting your mouth all over them and like sucking on her nipples and having this amazing fantasy. And then you text her, meet me. Actually, you don't text her, you don't have her number. She's kind of unattainable, right? So one day, for whatever reason, she's having a bad day and she turns to you and she says, "Hey, meet me in the stairwell. I'm really stressed out. We have to meet and we have to have sex." Something like that, like a kind of sexy office situation. But let me tell you, most office hookups are not sexy. And I can just go by my personal experience. I mean, maybe I've just, was in a weird office or had just like these 2 really weird situations happen to me. But I want to talk about it because I just have to share, because I just thought, like, yeah, they're funny stories. Anyways, so, okay. The first office kind of situation that happened. So I was new to an office, and this office is in the suburbs, don't think, it's not like, the Office kind of setting, but maybe the Office was actually a little bit more cooler, the TV show, how that setup was going on. But it's a little bit, imagine everybody with like less sexy people in the office. So not, for example, so there's no one really there. And most people were married. There were a couple younger people. They were all in serious relationships. There were maybe like 3 people that are under 40 that were single. So, and also, because of the industry I'm in, there's a lot of turnover. So every 3 months, somebody new gets hired and that person ends up leaving. Either they're fired or they quit or they just, vanish. So I guess there's a lot of turnover. So there's like new faces, but there are not that many young people. So at that time, I was new in the office. So I was a new girl, and there was a guy who was sitting in a team that was, who wasn't working on my team, but was across the room from me. And so we were able to sort of chat when we went to, the room to get coffee or whatever, but we never were like close enough to like really interact. So what happened was this guy, he was like definitely a character. Like he was younger than me, actually. I would say 5 years younger. Like he just graduated undergrad, so this was his first adult job. And he came from one of those like really fancy liberal art colleges where you can major in something like really obscure, like 17th century Russian literature. And, you know, I guess it was like a good school. Like he was smart, but it was kind of like one of those like frou-frou kind of schools. Like, you know, I think like everybody was a liberal arts major, and then afterwards they would probably try to write a screenplay, and maybe like they played instruments like the oboe, and they would always like discuss feelings and about identities. They were really big into like labeling each other, because the first thing he would like say to me, or he asked me what my Myers-Briggs was, and so I was like, okay, you know, like it was like all that self-identity kind of thing. So, which I think is like fun to talk about, but I was like, okay, this type of personality. And he also he would also ride a bike to the office, which is very rare in the suburbs. You know, people ride bikes in the cities, like, and that's common, but it's here, like where we work, like everybody had a car, you know, so or they walked if they lived like close enough. But he rode a bike. He lived like 20 minutes away by driving, but he would bike to work. And then I remember he would like fold his bike. It was one of those like folding bike things. So, and he did that, and he said he would also like was really into a certain type of like very, very, very frugal living, because he wanted us, you know, save all his money and then move to the mountains in the future and write, I don't know, the next great American novel. But anyway, so I'm not like saying, this is just so you can paint a picture of this type of person, right? So not just like the typical suburban person that you run into, right? And I remember he would always pack his lunch, and it was like, you know, just really those like plant-based meals, et cetera, et cetera. And we started talking because he was listening to a podcast. And when I asked him what the podcast was, he was telling me how he was like learning 3 different languages at the same time. And they're all like obscure languages. They weren't languages that you sort of like would use in your day-to-day. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So we were just like, but you know, he was a nice person. He was a nice guy. We were chatting. He was like a lot younger than me. So I didn't think like any romantic interest whatsoever. I just thought, okay, a friend, since I don't have any in this office. So in any case, we would kind of talk when we would get into the office for like 10 minutes, talk when we were leaving, and then sometimes, you know, he would go on walks, and, you know, if I went outside for whatever reason, get some air, we would like end up a little talking back and forth, nothing deep. I didn't really think like anything more of it. So what ends up happening is I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah. So we ended up working a little bit later. So we were leaving at the same time, and it was a little bit colder. So he had his bike, and it was all folded up. And I remember it was colder because I was asking him, like, are you comfortable, you know, like biking around when it's getting cold like this? Like, how can you do, you know, how do you handle these like changes of temperature? He's like, oh no, it sucks a little, but you know, you're used to it. And we were just chatting, and I remember he said something like, oh, I'm in a spontaneous mood or something like that. And at that time, I didn't know anybody really in this area. And I was like, okay, do you want to like do something, like go to a bar to grab a drink after work? You know, just hang, you know, like see a movie. I don't know, just something to do. And he's like, oh, let's just go for a drive or something, because it's been so long since I've been in a car. So I was like, okay, we don't really know where we're going, but okay, fine, let's just go for a ride. I guess it has been a while since you had a car, because, you know, usually you have to put like gas in cars to go places, and you don't just like ride around randomly, you know, like, because that's like a waste, but whatever. Like, okay, so I just said, okay, fine. And I remember he like folded his bike, and he kept it in the trunk of my car. So I was like, okay, fine. Let's just drive around. And I think we drove around. We were just chatting, like small talk. And I remember I had to like get gas. I stopped by, got gas, and then I was like, well, I don't know where you want to go, what you want to do. but my apartment is, on the way. I just want to like drop off my work stuff with me, like my work bag and all this stuff, and maybe I can change and then we could go to a bar or something like that. And he was just like, yeah, sure, I'm just down for whatever. And I was like, okay. And yeah, then I remember we were in my like kitchen, and he basically, this is the funny part. So he basically wanted to start like drinking. So I said, okay, yeah, fine. Let me pour you a glass of wine. So I poured him a glass of wine, poured myself a glass of wine. Then he wanted to like cook a meal together. So I said, okay, fine, let's do that. So, and then he started just talking about himself, and I found out all these, like, he like sort of told me all these details. He was telling me that he was like polyamorous, so he does not believe in monogamy. He believes that he needs to have like multiple partners, and he's pansexual. Oh yeah. So let's just call him the polyamorous pansexual prince, right? So he was basically like, yeah, my happiest relationship is when I had, 2 girlfriends, or, sometimes I have a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and we're sitting on a hill on a picnic bench, just enjoying life. I was like, okay, this is, liberal arts life. I just imagine that's like common when those kind of liberal arts schools. I have another friend that went to a school like that, an all-girl liberal arts school. She said that it's very common there. I went to a big state school, so that was just new to me. And so he was telling me all these things, and then in the middle of the conversation, like we were drinking, kind of like sitting like closer on the couch. We moved to a couch and we started sitting closer to each other, and he starts like kind of putting the moves on, like subtly, like kind of pressing his thigh against my thigh, where it's like you're kind of testing the water. You're like putting it out there a little bit, seeing how the other person reacts. Like, does it feel good? Is the person gonna like move away from you? It's like that kind of like that dance, right? So, I mean, like, and it felt like I was just going with it. Like, it was just, fine. And I remember then he started to like start rubbing my back, and that felt good. I had a long day, a stressful day at work, and he was just like rubbing my back, and I was like, yeah, this is starting to feel good. Continue, like nothing's weird yet. And like up to this point, it's like a perfectly normal, like you think like, oh, it's a sexy situation, it's gonna go in a good way. No, this is when it gets and then and so I'm getting like a little bit like excited, I'm getting turned on, but like not fully. I'm gonna say like maybe 25%, 10 to 25% turned on, where you're just like, like this is kind of cool, let's see where it goes. And then he starts giving me a shoulder massage, and the massage felt really good. He was just like, really like getting deep in my shoulders and massaging all the kinks out, and he really knew how to use his hands, and I was just like, okay, well, this is kind of escalating. And then he brought it up. He was just like, can we take it to the next level? And I'm like, okay, cool, like this is good, it's feeling good, I'm gonna get laid tonight, awesome. Like I was not planning this, but let's go ahead. And this guy was like so much younger than me. I wasn't even thinking about him in like a romantic way. I was like, whatever, he's polyamorous, like let's just go with the flow, and then he basically, like, we would go into my bedroom, right, because we were in the living room on the couch, and then he's just like giving me like a nicer, deeper massage. And I think like, okay, at this point, like he's gonna try to kiss me. And then so I kind of like lean in closer to go for like the kiss and waiting for him, and he's like, wait, we need to pause. And I was like, okay, like what's wrong? Like, what's the issue? And he's just like, I just feel uncomfortable. I just feel like we're moving in a pace that I'm just not comfortable with. And I was just like, dude, you asked for a glass of wine, you poured me a glass of wine, you initiated the massage, your hands are like all on my back, and you were like rubbing my shoulders, you were rubbing your hand up and down my arm. Like, these are all the signs, intents, and purposes that you want to like escalate. And I was like, okay, like, I don't want to, like, rape you. Like, what do you want? Like, what are you seeking? Like, what's going on? And then he's just like, well, you know, I just don't feel comfortable to kiss you. I just don't feel like we're at that stage yet. And I was like, well, do you understand how everything you're doing leads a person up to thinking that you guys were gonna make out and then we're probably gonna, like, have sex? Like, I'm not saying that, you know, it's definitely gonna happen, but like 95%, like, that's probably what happens and escalates it. And I was always like, and I also was like, like, you don't want to have sex with me? Like, this is, and I'm like, okay, you don't? Like, what do you want to do then? Like, what are you trying, like, what's your intent? And he's like, I just don't feel sexually attracted to you in the terms, like, where I want to kiss you. Like, I'm not attracted to you in that way. But what I am attracted to you in a way is that I just want to, like, massage your body and, like, hold you really close to me and just, like, touch you. I'm like, I don't even remember how he described it, because I was just like, this is so fucking weird. Like, he's like, I just want to cuddle you and I just want to give you a massage, but I don't want to kiss you and I definitely don't want to have sex with you. I'm not attracted to you. And I'm like, you're not attracted to me? Like, what? Like, you initiated this all. Like, what do you mean? And I was just like, I was just like, I'm just very confused. Like, what do you, like, yeah. And of course I was kind of like, my feelings were hurt. Like, obviously, like, you know, your ego is, like, a little bit bruised, but at the same time, you don't want to, like, again, you don't want to, like, rape somebody. So you're just like, okay, like, you're not attracted to me. Like, fine. Do you want to, like, sleep on the couch? Like, this is just awkward. Like, you're basically, like, touching me all over my body. I'm, like, really turned on right now. I, like, really at least want to make out. Like, do you want at least to make out? And he's just like, no, I don't want to sleep on the couch. I just want to hold you really close to me. And I just want to massage you. Like, literally, that's what he wanted to do. He just wanted to massage me and hold me on the couch. And I was like, this is kind of like a weird situation, because I'm like, well, obviously I'm really turned on. So if you massage me, I'm going to get turned on. Like, my body's just going to get turned on. I can't help that. But at the same time, I don't want you to do anything you're not comfortable with. But I just remember, like, being, like, really pissed off. I was just like, what do you want, dude? Like, I don't know, make up your mind. And then he was, like, getting really offended that I was asking him to, like, sleep on the couch. Because I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, anyways, so I was just, like, uncomfortably, like, I was uncomfortably, like, in my bed, and he was just, like, holding me, massaging me the whole night, and then he, like, and he wanted to, like, cuddle me, and then he fell asleep, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the most awkward and worst night of my life. This is never, but okay, that was dramatic. That was it. I've had much more worse nights, but it was the most awkward and confusing night in my life. Because I'm like turned on, but there's nothing I can do. But when I want to stop being turned on, he's gonna get very upset. So let's just want this night to be over. And then in the morning, he, like, woke up and he's like, yeah, I had such a really amazing night last night. Thank you for, like, the experience that we shared. I hope you feel really bonded and connected with me, and that we were able to express ourselves and share our stories. And I was like, this motherfucker just better stop talking, because I am pissed off at this point. Like, and then, oh yeah, and I remember on top of it, he was like, oh yeah, by the way, can you drive me to my apartment? Which was, like, half an hour away. Of course, he didn't want to, like, bike. And I was like, because he had the bike, it was still in my trunk. And I was like, oh my God, fine. And so I just drove him back to his apartment. And then he, like, gave me, like, this, like, hug. And he's like, let the peace be with you. Like, something, like, so stupid and corny. And I was just, like, so pissed off at this point. And I was just like, I never want to see this fool again. Like, oh my God. And I was like, now I have to see this guy at work every day. Like, how awkward. Like, I just never want to talk to him. I never want to do anything with him. And so anyways, I think I dropped him off on that Saturday morning. I'm like, okay, I have to see him again on Monday. Dreading it. And so I remember I go into Monday, like, dreading to have the encounter. And then I, like, you know, then the leader on his team, he wasn't there at his desk the entire like day or whatever, and the leader of the team like was basically like, yeah, he like quit. He resigned because he just like really wanted to be like a therapist or something like that. He was just not, you know, interested in the field that we were in. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. What a weird night. So yeah, no, and I wish that that was the weirdest thing that happened to me in the office, but then there was even something even fucking weirder that happened. I'm gonna give you a hint. It was with somebody in the office who was like older, and I think he was like 55 and also polyamorous. Like, why are so many people polyamorous in the suburbs? Like, is this a trend that I'm missing out on? Are people just like bored having sex with their like wives or husbands, where they're just like, yeah, we need to open up the relationship? But that is a story for another day. So thank you so much for listening to me talk. I hope you stick around. I have more stories to share with you, more unfiltered conversations, and I hope to hear you. Oh no, I'm the one talking, but I hope that you subscribe, and I will see you soon. Bye.